Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 58 based on novel. So let's start. On the origin continent, there is a vast territory in the Chinji icefield, named Black Heaven Realm. For endless years, this place has been shrouded by a vast black cloud. The black cloud covers an area so wide that it is almost comparable to the entire scope of second-rate countries such as U State and Sha State. Luohi? Deep in the black cloud, there is a winged figure hidden. This Luohi is quite courageous. He should have guessed that there is a god king behind the strange beast, but he still doesn't give me face. The winged figure thought. The Chuyu he follows is a newly promoted first-class marquis. The first-class marquis of the Emperor Chu lineage fights cruelly. It won't be long before Luohi will be in trouble. When you meet a suitable opportunity, take action. The winged figure has lived for endless years and has become more cautious in doing things. Those who can reach the peak of the Chaos Realm can retain complete memories in reincarnation. Even he is unwilling to easily provoke a great enemy. But he knew very well that secretly adding fuel to the flames at a critical moment could put some strong men in desperate situations. I secretly enslaved this beast and never made it public. This time the beast's identity was exposed, and I also used a secret method to cover up the cause and effect. There are only a handful of people in the entire origin continent who can trace me. Winged figure. Shadow thought about the Emperor Qing of the ancient country of Yangfeng and the contemporary Emperor, Emperor Fu. Both of them are good at exploring cause and effect, and they can find out my identity. But the Qianxu mine that I attacked belongs to the territory controlled by the Emperor Chu lineage. Emperor Chu, don't ask Emperor Qing and Emperor Fu for help for this small theft. The winged figure was also a guest official of the Chaos Realm of the ancient country of Yangfeng a long time ago. At that time, he was even a transcendent existence in the Chaos Realm. Later, he became a god king, and his strength naturally became more profound, so he left the ancient country of Yangfeng. Many god kings established a country or a force, and they all believed that they had the strength to stand in this world, and it was extremely difficult to destroy them. The original guest also thought that they had more than enough to protect themselves and deal with most of the dangers in the origin continent. He did not expect that the Lord of the Food Kingdom would be so unscrupulous. The ancient country of Yangfeng and the ancient country of Thunder occupy the core territory of the entire origin continent, and all kinds of treasures are almost monopolized by them. What does it matter if I take a little bit? After all, it is a wonder bred by heaven and earth, the winged figure thought. The other few strange beasts have not been exposed yet. Buzz. The winged figure merged into the endless black cloud. This endless black cloud was where its body was. The black cloud enveloped the entire black sky realm, where a large number of practitioners and a large number of exotic beasts lived. Every time a Chaos Realm exotic beast was born, it would be quietly enslaved by him. Later, it was sent to the two ancient countries to steal some rare treasures of heaven and earth. Chuyu Marquis Mansion. Brother Chuyu. Luo Feng informed the details of the mission. Chuyu frowned slightly after hearing this. This Chaos Realm exotic beast has never been recorded in the intelligence. It should have been captured alive and enslaved not long after it was conceived. I don't know who is behind it. Those who dare to send exotic beasts to steal the rare treasures of heaven and earth in the ancient country of Yangfeng are either powerful and unafraid of the investigation of my Emperor Chu lineage, or they are strong people within my royal family. Chuyu knew very well that the ones who stole the most treasures were the many marquises within the royal family. The competition among the marquises was fierce, and they would have evil thoughts if they couldn't get enough resources through competition. If you can track down this detailed identity, your mission will be successful. Chuyu said with a smile. As for the rest, you don't need to worry about it. No matter if the beast is backed by a royal marquis or some ancient being, you are not suitable to intervene. Luo Feng nodded. After the beast died, there was no weapon or secret treasure, only some Qianxu stone essence. He waved his hand. Pieces of Qianxu stone essence half a person's height, and a pile of Qianxu stone essence particles. A total of 23 pieces, Jianxu stone essence and some broken particles. Luo Feng said. The beast should regularly hand over some stolen Jianxu stone essence to the owner behind it. Chuyu took a look and said. More than 23 pieces, worth more than 23,000 merits, you can keep them. All the spoils of the mission are yours. Luo Feng nodded and put them away. The merits of the Yangfeng ancient country are very valuable, and the cosmic sand cannot be exchanged for merits. According to Luo Feng's understanding, complete Jianxu stone essence needs 1,000 merits to be exchanged, and the outside world needs nearly 300 million cosmic sands to buy it. The price is floating because the Jianxu stone essence willing to be sold is very rare. By the way, I have briefly learned about the perfect level of chaos layer creatures, materials you need. Chuyu said, there should be 7 in our Yangfeng ancient country, 6 are in the hands of the God King, and 1 is in the hands of Wu Huanghu. Wu Huanghu is from the lineage of Emperor Wu and has a very bad relationship with our Chu lineage. I need to spend more time. It will probably take a long time to get the materials of this chaos layer creature. Chuyu also felt difficult. It's okay if you can't get it, and there's no need to force it. Luo Feng said. Because there is no record of the transformation method in the first calamity of 8 tribulations life form, Luo Feng needs to constantly improve the transformation method by himself. Now in terms of life spirituality, Luo Feng has made great progress, but Luo Feng also realized that the life structure of the chaos layer creatures he captured is still too simple, the upper limit is relatively low, and it is too difficult to deduce a more mysterious life structure out of thin air. Luo Feng naturally hopes to get some more perfect chaos layer creatures to study their life composition. But now it seems that it is difficult for Chuyu to get it. Take your time. Chuyu smiled. It has been a short time since I became a first-class marquis. I will make more and more friends in the future, and I will find a way. In my ancient country of Yangfeng, there are 7 perfect level chaos layer creatures. I don't believe that I can't get any of them, just materials. Chuyu knew very well that the 30 epochs after becoming a chaos layer were a protection period, and there were no mandatory tasks, giving him enough time to grow. When the protection period was over, he would have to face the same competitive environment as the other 6 first-class marquises, and he would need the help of Luo He. Time passed, and Luo Feng had been in Chuyu for more than 3 epochs. He was concentrating on comprehending the inheritance of the first calamity of the 8 tribulations life form, and the inheritance was vast. Luo Feng absorbed knowledge and constantly tried to improve the transformation method. In an elegant pavilion, Marquis Chuyu and a woman in red armor sat opposite each other. Marquis Chuyu, don't worry, as long as the North Sea Beast Forest is handed over to me, I will definitely help you get the materials of the perfect level chaos layer creature you need. The woman in red armor smiled brightly and confidently. Of course I believe in the promise of Lord Lianyu. Chuyu smiled and said, lately, Lord Lianyu should be able to receive the appointment. The woman in red armor and Chuyu chatted for a while drinking. The woman in red armor showed her joy. She had received a task from the royal family asking her to be in charge of the North Sea Beast Forest for 10,000 epochs. She took the task without hesitation. Mr. Chuyu is really trustworthy. The woman in red armor immediately stood up. I will go and ask my father. I will bring you the materials you need within 3 days. Chuyu stood up and said, excuse me, Lord Lianyu. In addition to the divine kings of the royal lineage, the Yangfeng ancient country also had some guest divine kings. These guest divine kings were completely integrated into the Yangfeng ancient country, and were even granted fiefs. Even their family descendants multiplied in the Yangfeng ancient country. The father of the lord of Lianyu city was the king of Jianju, who was granted a fiefdom by the ancient country of Yangfeng. The ancient country of Yangfeng looked down on some ordinary gods and kings, and those ordinary gods and kings were not qualified to obtain fiefs in the ancient country of Yangfeng. The king of Jianju is the direct disciple of the founder of Yangfeng. He and the emperors are brothers in the same sect and are an extraordinary being. The lord of Lianyu city is the only one among King Jianju's many children who has reached the chaos realm. However, the management of the Yangfeng ancient country is led by 13 emperors and the first-class marquises of the royal family. The guest gods have no right to interfere. To explore the entire chaos layer and capture an ancient being of the perfect chaos layer, he must be either an emperor or a heavenly king. Chuyu also felt that it was not easy. I have been planning until today, and finally succeeded. Lord Chuyu believed in the promise of Lord Lianyu. Call. Chuyu walked out of the pavilion with his men, among whom there were 2 Chaos Realm practitioners. In the ancient country of Yangfeng, there were also some Chaos Realm practitioners with ordinary strength. They tried every means to get close to the first-class marquis and seek some opportunities. Chuyu. A brother's fierce voice sounded. Chuyu's face changed slightly and he turned to look. I saw 2 figures walking over with a group of men. Emperor Chuyu, this mission in the North Sea Beast Forest. Chujiho and I both asked for your help, but you didn't even give us the respect, said an ugly figure covered in black hair, his eyes flashing with lightning. I guessed that you were helping the Lord of Lianyu City, and it turned out to be true. In the past 3 epochs, I have been quite modest in assigning tasks, but this North Sea Beast Forest mission is very important to me. Chuyu said, I can't give in again. You're quite brave. The black-haired figure laughed strangely, and a murderous aura came towards him, making Chuyu feel a little frightened. Among the 7 first-class people, this Chuyuanhu is a madman because he has the blood of the Flame Wind Royal family and the Thunder Royal family. Chuyunhu experienced many hardships and tortures when he was young, which made his temperament more twisted and violent. Marquis Chuyuan only had a good relationship with Marquis Chuji, who had a similar temperament. When you are weak, you should do things that your strength makes you do weak. A burly figure at the side looked at Chuyu. A king-level mission, are you worthy enough to take it? We are equal in status. Chuyu's face was also grim. I gave up all the king-level missions in the past and never accepted them. This time, the North Sea Beast Forest mission. Since I have never accepted it, I naturally have priority. Priority? The ugly black-haired figure shouted angrily, I've already told you to give it to us. How dare you snatch it? Bang! A terrifying wave hit Chuyu's body and also affected the men around him. Even the 2 Chaos Realm Masters beside him felt a terrifying force coming towards them. The formation of this pleasure place immediately appeared, and Chuyu was hit and flew backwards into the formation. The 2 Chaos Realm people beside him were also hit into the formation. The loud bang attracted many guests to look. As for the ordinary followers around Chuyu, they had already turned into ashes. I accidentally killed a few of your followers. The black-haired ugly figure laughed strangely. I guess you will find me a few thousand merits. Ha ha ha, whatever you want. This time it's a warning. Next time, I won't be so gentle. The black-haired ugly figure turned around and left. Chujiho on the side also looked at Chuyu coldly. Chuyu, you know the temper of Chuyuanhu. If you behave a little, you can suffer less, otherwise I can't stop him. After saying that, Chujiho also left. Chuyu and the 2 Chaos Realm around him looked ugly. A Chaos Realm with several tentacles couldn't help but say, go back. Chuyu said coldly, turned around and left. Many guests in this place of enjoyment are also quite prestigious. But seeing the conflict between the 3 first-class marquises, they dared not look at it. 2 days later, Chuyu came to Luofeng's cave. Brother Chuyu. Luofeng came out of retreat to meet. I finally lived up to Brother Luo his expectations. Chuyu laughed, it took me 3 epochs to finally get the materials for this perfect chaos layer creature. As he spoke, Chuyu took out a jade box and opened it. Inside the box was a yellow feather with a strange luster, just like a precious jade. Luofeng looked at the yellow feather in the jade box. He could feel that the edge of the yellow feather was extremely sharp, and it also carried a wave of vibration. Chuyu smiled and said, this is the golden-feathered divine bird under the command of King Qianju. It was born naturally in the chaos layer. When it was first conceived, it was still very young and only had the strength of a mid-level chaos realm. Later, after being carefully fed by King Chuyu and fed with many rare treasures, it grew to the most perfect form. It was already able to match the peak of the Chaos Realm. Luo Feng was surprised, cultivated to the most perfect body shape? The Chaos Layer creatures that I captured, such as the Silver Light creatures, were formed by the fusion of hundreds or thousands of silver light water droplets. In fact, they were all very young. According to his own transformation method, 180 billion drops is the limit of silver light biological fusion. Although this golden-feathered divine bird was born with the strength of the primal chaos realm, it still has room for improvement. I made a deal with the Lord of Lianyu City, the daughter of King Chuyu, to get this golden feather. The feather of the divine bird. Chuyu said, because this is a voluntary exchange, this feather will not be annihilated on its own. Luo Feng said gratefully, Brother Chuyu, this is a great help to me, thank you. Whether it is a cultivator, a strange beast, or a chaotic layer creature with complete consciousness, do you want to study their body materials? There are only two ways. 1. Kill the opponent with your mind, and then you can study the opponent's body. 2. If the opponent is alive, he must be willing. Otherwise, the blood feather will annihilate itself and dissipate at the thought of the opponent. The more powerful a life form is, the less willing it is to allow other powerful beings to study its body materials. Ha, why should we be so polite? Chuyu said with a smile, the 30 epochs when I reached the Chaos Realm are a protection period, and you and I can both practice with peace of mind. But after the protection period, I will need to trouble you then. If you need any help from me, just let me know. Luo Feng said. During the protection period, there is nothing I need your help with, so just practice with peace of mind. Chuyu laughed, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Luo Feng immediately escorted Chuyu to the entrance of the cave. After Chuyu left, Luo Feng immediately went into seclusion again. Luo Feng really knew nothing about the conflict between Emperor Chuyu and the other two first-class marquises. On the one hand, Luo Feng did not make many friends after arriving in Chu City, because Chu City was too complicated. The 7 first-class marquises were the biggest competitors, and there were also the direct disciples of the emperor, the disciples of the god kings, and the many factions were too complicated. During the period of rapid strength improvement, Luo Feng preferred to practice in seclusion. He knew very well that when his strength was strong enough, the so-called complicated situation would quickly become clear. On the other hand, the core of the Emperor Chu lineage who manages many things is the 7 first-class marquises. No one in the entire Chu city dared to discuss the conflict between the 7 of them. The guests who saw the conflict at that time did not dare to say a word. Because the consequence of angering a first-class marquis is not just personal death, but the family and forces behind him will also be implicated. Moreover, Chuyu also wanted to keep it secret, not wanting these things to affect Luo Feng. Naturally, he hoped that Luo, his guest official, would concentrate on his cultivation and become as powerful as possible. Marquis Chu Ji and Marquis Chu Yuan are both at the peak of the Chaos Realm. Marquis Chu Ji has 2 guest officials, and Marquis Chu Yuan has 1 guest official. In their force, there are 5 people at the peak of the Chaos Realm. Chuyu knew very well how powerful those 2 were, and there are also some Chaos Mirrors following them. Among the 7 first-class marquises, only these 2 are united, which makes their side the most powerful. Although Brother Luo he is also at the peak of the Chaos Realm, he is outnumbered after all. There are 5 of them on the other side. Moreover, Marquis Chu Yuan, who has the royal blood of 2 ancient nations and is being cultivated by our ancestors, is the one with the greatest hope of transcending the Chaos Realm among the 7 of us. Emperor Chuyu had to admit this. Among the 7 first-class marquises, Marquis Chu Yuan is the most brutal and wanton one, but he is the most talented and the strongest. At the peak level of the Chaos Realm, it is difficult to completely kill the opponent without a huge gap. But there are still differences in strength. Just like Luo Feng can suppress Liu Yinhu. Chu Yuan who had never met an opponent at the peak of the Chaos Realm. Even the Emperor and Ancestor recognized his talent. My strength has now reached the peak of the Chaos Realm. Chuyu said silently, at the end of the protection period, my strength must be further improved. Even if I haven't reached the peak of the Chaos Realm, I must make sure that Chuyu who can't do anything to me. Chuyu also has ambitions. He had followed the lineage of the infinite divine body since he was young. Naturally, he longed to reach the level of the divine king. Force me to be humble? Give up many resources? How can I grow and become stronger without resources? Chuyu's eyes were cold. Inside Luo Feng's cave, in the quiet retreat room, on the first floor of the Star Tower, Luo Feng did not get involved with the various forces in Chu City, nor did he make friends. He focused on his cultivation. This feather? Luo Feng looked at the yellow feather in front of him, gently pinched it, and pulled it. It's extremely tough, and the edge of the feather is as sharp as a blade. With just a thought, the yellow feather flew out and hovered in the air. Luo Feng stretched out his hand, and the tips of his fingers were faintly sharp. Beep! With a gentle wave of his hand, he cut off the tiny fluff on the edge of the feather. Luo Feng even felt a hint of resistance. My close combat is much more powerful than the long-range galaxy transformation, but even cutting off the small hairs has a little resistance. Luo Feng sighed secretly, then grabbed the tiny strand of fur and exerted force suddenly. A terrifying force that surpassed the peak of the chaos realm of the physical body erupted, completely shattering the tiny strand of fluff into the most basic particles. This is? A tiny strand of fluff, when crushed, turns into tens of thousands of particles. Is it also a particle? Luo Feng observed with a little doubt. There were also some secret patterns of chaos law on the surface of the particles. At first glance, it looks very similar to the particles of other transformation methods such as the galaxy transformation method and the black abyss transformation method, but it feels very spiritual. It is thousands or even tens of thousands times stronger than my 5 transformation methods. It is a qualitative change. Why is it that even though they are all particles, their life force is so strong? Call? Luo Feng waved his hand lightly and cut open a particle. As the particles split, Luo Feng could see clearly. This particle contains the secret pattern of the law of chaos, and inside it are actually 2 particles that are fused together. A larger particle consists of 2 smaller particles? Are the 2 small particles partially fused? Luo Feng observed and continued to split the 2 smaller particles. After the 2 particles split apart, many laws and secret patterns appeared, and at the same time they completely disintegrated. The combination of yin and yang? Trinity? At this moment, Luo Feng understood what the most basic life structure of this most powerful chaos layer creature looked like. He also understood why this particle could carry such a powerful life spirit. The combination of yin and yang contains endless mysteries. It is divided into pure yin, pure yang, and yin and yang fusion. And the Trinity raises the level of complexity even further. Luo Feng cut open another particle and looked at it carefully. Black and white can be considered yin and yang, life and death, yin and yang matter and energy, or a kind of yin and yang. Yin and yang is a state. Particles with the same origin appear in different states and blend perfectly. Regarding the combination of yin and yang, it is recorded in the Life Body chapter of the first calamity of 8 calamities Life Body. Luo Feng used the inheritance to understand it. The beginning of the universe, the combination of yin and yang, the Trinity, the 10-sided world. 8 tribulations Life Body. This inheritance describes the various forms of life body. The Trinity is too complicated. For the requirements of life spirituality and life body, it is better to try the simpler yin and yang forms first. After Luo Feng understood it with the help of inheritance, he began to try to improve the method of change. Beep. The divine power changed and turned into 2 drops of water combined together. But this combination seems very ugly, and the life spirituality it contains is also average. The yin and yang form complements each other. After Luo Feng dispersed, he tried again. Time passes. He tried again and again, learned lessons each time, and studied the inheritance. He cut open the particles of the golden-feathered divine bird and observed them carefully. The golden-feathered bird under the command of King Qianju could sense that the material of its body was being cut. But because it was a normal transaction, it could only let everything happen and did not dare to actively destroy that feather. Beep. I don't know how many times he tried, but this time Luo Feng waved his hand, and the 2 drops of silver water combined together, but there was a sense of beauty of life, and the spirituality of life was 10 times stronger than before. That's the feeling. Luo Feng showed surprise as it changed again and again. Transform millions of drops, tens of millions of drops, hundreds of millions of drops at a time. Luo Feng's soul is now strong, his mind will is getting stronger, and the transformation method is being performed faster and faster. Soon, 1,080 billion drops of silver light water were formed, and every 2 drops were combined with each other. A convergent silver light river was formed. It looked ordinary. But Luo Feng could feel that his consciousness that could integrate into it was also much stronger, and the power was several times stronger. I have been in Chuyu for so long, and my transformation method has finally changed qualitatively. Luo Feng showed a happy expression. My mind will has now reached the threshold of the 2nd level of the God King, and I can also control more galaxy sword lights. The total power of this galaxy sword light should be 10 times greater than when I was in Huyang City. Luo Feng was quite happy. Just like the mind will, at the level of Chaos Realm is gradually and slowly improving. Only from the bottleneck of Chaos Realm to the level of God King will there be a qualitative change. The spiritual will of the God King is also gradually improving. From the 1st level to the 3rd level, it is a slow accumulation. This kind of accumulation is very difficult. It is difficult for the ancient God King to make further progress in the endless years. The most critical factor for my spiritual will to reach the threshold of the 2nd level from the 1st level of the God King is the transformation of my life level. Luo Feng knew this. When he was an eternal true God, he was a God King level will. After becoming a perfect divine body in the Chaos Realm, his soul became stronger and stronger, and his spiritual will naturally had a short period of improvement. Unless my life level is further improved and reaches the God King level, it will help my spiritual will. Otherwise, I need to accumulate slowly. Luo Feng knew very well that normal accumulation and improvement are very slow. When he was a true God, he was the peak will of the Chaos Realm. Eternal true God. With the help of the divine body and the robbery beast map, he broke through to the God King level. Chaos Realm slowly took a small step forward and reached the threshold of the 2nd level of the God King realm. Progress is also becoming more and more difficult. This video will end here.